Welcome to the 143rd episode of News Dump, where we run through the hottest topics in the hottest room in the Chronicle building in Lewis County and discuss. I'm local man Aaron VanTuyl, joined by Chronicle editor-in-chief Eric Sweaty Schwartz and assistant editor Isabel Vander Stoep. And we're joined in spirit by sponsors Summit Funding and the Roof Doctor.
Would you say you're in the hot seat right now?
I would say we're all in the hot seat right now. It is quite hot in this room, hotter than it is outside.
Yeah,
Schwartz, you are visibly looking dehydrated.
It's like 90 degrees in here. I tried to turn the air conditioner on, and there's only hot air coming out of the vent. So
we are pretty much podcasting from a hostile road environment, if you want to put this in sports terms.
So we're just going to pass out on our keyboards. That's how this is going to end.
It's Monday, May 15th, and speaking of sports terms, shout out to the sports guys for their breakdown of the Evco softball debacle. You were mentioning you enjoyed that, Schwartz.
Yeah, just the emotional debate that was had there. Talked for 45 minutes about Evco softball.
Yeah.
That was something. I heard nothing but good things from listeners out in the community, though. They seem to enjoy it. And I liked your headline, Bamboozled by the Evco softball's chicanery and subterfuge.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And Josh and Alec, I would put those two guys up against, like, as far as pound for pound, like a local sports podcast, I think you would be hard-pressed, like, anywhere in the region, maybe even in the country, to find another sports podcast serving that small of a population base, small of a population base. The work those two guys do, their knowledge of it is very good. They do a good job.
On top of that, I think it would be hard to find many other sports news departments in the country that are as dedicated to as few people. And not to say they don't serve a lot of people, but just like in scale of how hard they work and just for this area that we all love so much.
Yeah. Do you guys want to cover any of the interesting stuff that happened today? The washout, I guess, is a big one. You want to hit that now? A road washed out?
Yeah, Spirit Lake Highway about, what you take this, Isabel, you wrote this up. You said 2 miles from Johnson Ridge?
Yeah, I think it's just the area over Coal Creek. Coldwater Creek. You know what? It's one of those two. I don't know. It's hot. But it's at around milepost 50-ish. There was a huge slide that knocked out part of the Spirit Lake Highway. And it's a very sad and embarrassing day for us because we led with a bunch of photos of Mount St. Helens that were taken up at the observatory, which you could still access late last week. And that was on Saturday. And then we have them in our weekly paper in Battleground at the Reflector. And then this happens late Sunday night. And the only thing that we had time to put in left on it was like an editor's note that said, we're awaiting more information about this, essentially. So the Reflector is still going out this week with a headline that says Road to Johnson Ridge Observatory open, which is such a huge bummer. But it's literally like we were right there, and then now it's been washed out, and this is just his assessment of it. But Schwartz was like, I think it's going to take them years to fix it. It's a huge slide and so much debris. It's a lot of damage.
Chad got some excellent aerial, Chad Taylor, our owner, publisher, got some excellent aerial footage, and he tracked from the point of actually downstream from the slide all the way up to where it originated, and it is very gnarly up there, and there's more stuff that's probably going to come down. But
he had like a cop escort him past the blockage and up there and everything so that he could get a bunch of footage. And it was so worth it because last night all we saw was like dark photos of the road with like a flash on. And then later in the day, people had taken some more photos from as close as they could be, which was still kind of far away. So to get the aerial footage was really remarkable. I would definitely recommend watching it at cronline.com and just kind of checking out the immenseness of this volcanic landscape and this slide and everything. There were 11 or 12 people who were stuck at the Johnson Ridge overnight and a dog, and they were rescued via airlift by the King County Sheriff's Office Air Support. That's a great reminder. Get your emails on, King.
Yeah. I had some important stuff coming in.
Anyways, so yeah.
On the road washout, Chad put a bunch of stuff in Slack today, and Chad shoots a lot of photos of stuff that's like, hey, here's some news, and sometimes it'll be just like there's a car in a ditch, and I'll be like, okay, like what? Come on, Chad. But this stuff was really good, and a lot of the times his stuff is really good. But he really just hauled ass down there and fired up Cron Air and did some good work.
Yeah, it's cool because we couldn't exactly all go while we're on deadline, and he was probably one of the first and last news outlets up there, and it's really important information to get out. Is like the scale of that situation is very impactful to this area to have that spot closed. So I thought it was awesome, and just of note, they're not open yet, but there's still at least two other access points to Mount St. Helens. Windy Ridge, and then toward like the Ape Caves in Cougar. So you can still go to Mount St. Helens this summer from the north or the south, but you cannot go from the west, and that is a huge bummer.
You can still climb it if you want to. You get a permit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you looking at me?
I've done it before, Aaron. That's why I was looking at you. I know you've tried and failed before.
I'm still not sure where it will close. I'm sure they'll have to like close different parts of the road throughout the whole time they're working on it, but I'm not sure if you can still go to Coldwater Lake. It doesn't seem like probably you can.
No, I don't think so. I mean, the write-up said you can't even get to the slide, so.
Yeah. It's really sad.
All right, it's extremely hot. We're going to speed run through the news items.
Hell yes.
All right, first up,
Dying over here.
No suspects in custody after two people shot in Centralia Saturday night in the Logan district, and while being driven to the hospital in a private vehicle, they got in a crash. Sounds like maybe somebody was drunk. Any new updates quickly?
Yes, Emily Fitzgerald produced an update off a press release with a little more information. You can find the full thing at cronline.com, but it sounded like one group of people came across another group of people. Words were exchanged, and then gunshot was fired. It doesn't say what they were arguing about or anything like that, but it did escalate quickly, and there are no suspects, like you said, or no suspects in custody, I should say.
Also, the two people are expected to survive.
Oh, good.
That was an update today.
Next item. Morton Police Chief Roger Morningstar placed on leave pending, quote, internal investigation, mayor says. While on leave, he can't go in the police station, but he does get pay and benefits, according to the mayor. Also, according to the mayor, it is not related to investigations into his alleged affiliations with far-right groups or to citizen claims Morningstar delayed an investigation into a rape case in Morton. It's not great that a reporter can ask, well, was it because of this? No. Well, what about this when you're talking about a police chief? Nice time to remind everyone that Morton also covers Mossy Rock and PL for some reason. Any guesses from the two of you as to what this could be regarding?
Oh, I would never venture a guess. He's a controversial figure out there, and we do hear things all the time, and we call on them and pass along tips and ask the authorities things, but it wouldn't really be wise at this juncture to comment on it. I hope the city is very transparent when it does come to finishing out the internal investigation and letting everybody know what it's about so people don't wonder.
I agree.
I'm very curious about the timeline of the leave and everything, but I don't think they were really prepared to make any large statement as of Friday. I'm not even actually sure exactly what day he went on leave, but we heard about it on Thursday night and got a call from got the mayor on the phone on Friday afternoon, I think. So like it's still pretty new, but it's very interesting, curious.
All right, next item. McFiler's Chehalis Theater has a new chef that looks to inspire diners to try creative and delicious new options. This is Morton native Jim Wheeler, who just got back from being a chef at a few remote lodges for 8 years up in Alaska, which sounds kind of awesome. He's also been a cook around the Twin Cities before. Looks like he worked at the Hub with Tim Filer, and I feel like he was working downtown Chehalis back in the day, too.
He was at the pub for a while.
Yeah, he was at the pub. He's running the kitchen at the theater, plans a lot of new specials with locally sourced ingredients. The kitchen at McFiler's Chehalis Theater is open for dinner service Thursday through Saturday from 5:30 to 8:30. How do you guys feel about food? Big fans?
Big fans.
I didn't know you could serve bone marrow as the entree. I learned that from
yeah.
his posts. And yeah, his food looks very interesting and very, very local.
Diverse selection, lots of vegan and vegetarian options, lots of cool pictures with this story.
Next item.
Hold on. We're going to squeeze this in. Kitchen would be a horrible place to work, I would say, in this heat. But you know where else would be terrible to work and why we're happy we have professionals that do it for us?
On top of a roof.
On top of a roof.
Yeah. So if you need a roof, call the Roof Doctor at 360-736-0246 or visit theroofdoctor.com.
They have free estimates.
Free estimates. Family-owned business since 1959?
Yep.
Great.
We have a new review. I'm going to save it for next week. It's Rob B, and it's 5 stars.
Ooh, I
Hell
can't
yeah.
wait.
All right. Next item. Unalaska man seeks answers over a year after his son was found dead in a burned vehicle. This is the off-referenced Ott Farrier death. On January 22nd of last year, his dad, Ed, got a call about his truck on fire in a ditch and went to check it out. He didn't know, and he went down that his son was in the truck. The autopsy later confirmed he had ash in his lungs, which indicates he was alive and breathing for at least some of the time he was on fire. It's an extremely sad story.
Yeah.
Ed was diagnosed with lung cancer and worried he wouldn't see the case resolved, so he started speaking out about it. He wrote a letter to the editor in April and agreed to sit down with a reporter on May 9th. In advance of that meeting, Emily Fitzgerald, Emily did the, okay. Emily asked the sheriff's office for an update on Monday, May 8th, the day before they sat down. Then during the interview at 10 a.m., the sheriff's office called to let Ed know a new deputy had been assigned to the case. And at 10:35, the sheriff's office replied to Emily's inquiry to say detectives just had a meeting about the case and it is now, or it's under active investigation. What a coincidence. It's nice to see that, by any means, it is getting more attention.
I think this story was really well done, and I definitely think that Ed Farrier's heart is with his son and not with the politics and complications of the sheriff's office and the way that lots of people are feeling about that. I would definitely encourage anyone to read the story if you haven't. It is really moving, really sad. There's some quotes in there that definitely got me to tears, and just like this man's love for his son is really compelling. So it's worth a read.
Yeah, good story. Next item, Adriana Garibay chosen for vacant Centralia City Council position. They had interviews last Tuesday night with 7 candidates. Garibay and Jeremy Corwin were the finalists. Garibay originally immigrated from Michoacan, Mexico in 1998. She settled in Centralia, where she currently manages GT Roofing and works for St. Joseph Church in Chehalis. She said she never expected to be selected, but applied because she wants to represent the Hispanic community, and I think she'll do a nice job.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Definitely a part of a significant population in Centralia, and I think having somebody on the council with that as a focus, even if just for the last couple of months of a term, is lovely.
Is it 43% of students in the district are Hispanic now?
I would not know the stat.
I believe it's 43% is what they were saying during the levy. So, and I know the school district has tried to do the same on the school board, making sure there's representation. So I thought it seemed like a wise and practical choice.
Yeah, it's very cool. And just cool to see how many people turned out for that. Like, vacant seat on city council for a few months, and you have like 5 applicants. Like, that's awesome.
7 applicants.
Yeah, great job, Centralia.
Yeah.
Civic
I heard
engagement.
you were going to run, Aaron.
Me?
Yeah.
I thought about it, but then I looked up. When I decided I was going to run, I looked up the date, and it had already passed. It's true of so many things.
Interesting.
We got some filing week updates.
Yeah, speaking of those, you going to file?
I just muted you because Chehalis school board member announces re-election bid and another candidate announces a board seat bid. Someone named J. Vander Stoep is running to keep his at-large seat.
They
Schwartz,
do call him J. Dot.
How do you feel about this?
I was surprised to see that
Nobody can hear you, Isabel. You've been muted.
I was surprised to see it's a contested race. Jay's a pretty well-known guy in the community, but that's good. You like we just said for the council,
contested?
you want interested. Yeah, Anthony Mixer is currently running against him.
Okay.
Why'd you say it like that? I've got big news to announce. However, Port of Centralia in District 3, we now have a race between Peter Lamont and any guesses? Diane Dory.
Oh!
Going to run against Peter Lamont for the Port of Centralia.
Oh, I thought I heard some whispers of that, but I didn't realize that was the seat. Is it? Are they section?
Yeah, districts 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
This is district 3. Let's see elsewhere. I'm looking for just contested races here. It looks like, today was
Also-
the first day of filing, so.
Also on Shayla School Board, Tim LeDuc is running for Larry Peterson's old seat, I believe.
Interesting.
Is Larry leaving?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
I think he endorsed LeDuc or something in the story I read.
Cool. Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't know.
I try not to talk to my father about politics because we are also family members, and that's kind of one of the best things to avoid when you're in a family.
True.
I think you have to mute Isabel again.
Yeah.
There's a third member of that race.
Is there?
Yeah, according to the filing that I'm looking at for Director District 5 at large, you also have Julie Balmelli Powell.
Okay. All right. Well. Also, we've got Centralia Mayor Kelly Smith Johnston seeking re-election, and she seeks re-election for her at-large council position, not mayor. That is something they'd vote on as a council, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's appointed by the council situation.
All right. Any other big filing week?
If there is, you can read it on cronline.com tomorrow morning. We'll have a roundup. And then you can also just go to the Lewis County Auditor's Office and go to elections page and then click on candidates who have filed. And there's a real-time list that as people file today through Friday with a large surge around 4 o'clock on Friday.
Okay.
Am I unmute? Oh, I am.
Yes.
I want to say something really quick, very seriously from my heart. I will not be covering in any way, shape, or form the race that my dad, Jay Vander Stoep, is in. I have no stake in whether he wins or loses in the school board, and I will not be involving myself in the Chronicle's coverage of the race, which I'm sure there will be coverage of the race because it affects a lot of people, and I will stay very far away from it. But like I said, I also don't care.
I already read your column hanging out in the Google Docs file headlined, "Why My Dad Deserves to Lose His Seat." So we shall see.
I just don't want people to think that I would be involved. I promise I won't be.
All right. Anything else you guys want to add before we take a break?
No, we can do it in the roundup at the end.
Hi, this is Jasek from Summit Funding. Here's what a recent client is saying about us.
Hi, this is Chad Taylor. Have you been thinking about purchasing or refinancing your current home? The team at Summit Funding is the best in class. Looking for a conventional FHA, VA, USDA, jumbo, or even a reverse mortgage? Trust the team at Summit Funding. Coralie and I did, and we couldn't be happier.
Thank you to all of our past clients. If you have any questions, give us a call at 360-330-4037.
All right, we're back with Tales from the Takes page. And first up, we've got a column from Brian Mitke titled "Swatting is the Latest Threat to Our Schools." From his column, quote, "Using virtual private networks, free anonymous phone numbers, and sometimes voice-changing software to obscure their digital footprints. These calls are known as swatting, as in causing police SWAT teams to descend on schools in response to the threats." This is a reference to the lockdown, what was that, Friday?
Yes.
At WF West High School.
Yeah, well, there was 6 to 8 instances of it across Washington on that day, too.
Nothing dangerous was located or anything like that. It did turn out to be just,
Yeah, Shahale's police said that the report was something to the effect of an individual with a rifle at the school. So
I think in the parking lot or
yeah,
something,
I think that's
too.
what it was. And yeah, that's the response you want. It looked like every cop from every agency and response distance was there. And but yeah, it's take a toll on the kids. We have a former writer for us who has a daughter in school there who was texting out, as you would expect, police are walking around with guns. And
yeah.
So anyways.
There was a sirens item. I'm sorry, this is probably in poor taste, but there was a sirens item from that same time on Thursday that this doctor's office was calling the police to say there's a pit bull in the office and this woman has a pit bull, and kind of a valid, that's fine, I guess. You can't have a pit bull in a doctor's office.
Well, you shouldn't.
Yeah. But the cops were like, we can't deal with that right now. I just thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, bigger things. going on,
Spoiler, it
maybe.
was actually Pitbull, and he was threatening people.
No.
And then the other one I've got on here, Peter Abarno commentary, headline, Make State Government More Open, Transparent and Accountable. From his column, he writes, last month, I introduced House Bill 1856 with the goal of helping make the state government more open, transparent, and accountable. The legislation will begin the discussion of how we provide better access to public records, how we manage the disclosure of records, and what process there should be to resolve disputes.
Snaps.
I'm not familiar with the bill, but sounds good.
Yeah, anything
Open
that
things up.
prevents like a court case ruling in favor of, freedom to information advocates, and then them just being like, well, no, it still doesn't apply to us. It's getting kind of old. I know they've been sued again. We'll see where that goes. It's pretty predictable at this point, though.
One thing he notes in the in that column that I've wanted to kind of mention at some point, but haven't found a place to put it in a story that's local, is the amount of exemptions that have increased with the Public Records Act. So when it started, it was something like a couple hundred exemptions for these things. And then he notes now there's over some hundred. And one thing I don't think he had in the column was that's after the formation of the Sunshine Committee. After that, we went from some 300 to I think it's 630. And it's great. We've had lots of people go look at, and I mean, Washington in some ways is better than a lot of other states when it comes to this sort of thing.
Whoa, Mississippi is pissed right now.
But then, you look at the amount of people who've been dedicated to making our government more open and transparent, and all they've done is make it worse. The fact that he's focusing on this, especially in a time where he has been very focused in a lot of his statements about the distrust in government, it's yeah, you're doing something about that, and I like that.
I think what you're mentioning is I believe originally there was something like a dozen exemptions, and now I think it's 600. And there has been issues with the Sunshine Committee. One of their members there was a story on one of their members this past legislative season talking about how she was resigning because they make recommendations and they just go ignored.
Yeah.
So yeah, open things up, make things more transparent. Let everybody see what the government's doing.
I agree. I want to know what's going on in the insurance commissioner's office.
You file a public records request and you can get all of my emails and you will be bored to tears, my friend.
And
We'll see about that.
I will say, what was I going to say, actually? It's too hot. I'm sorry.
Podcasting under duress up here.
You know what? I was actually going to say something of value, but now I've lost it.
Sirens Banger of the Week. First up, 5 juveniles under the age of 13 were reportedly acting disorderly and, quote, putting moaning sounds into the speakers at Walmart on May 5th.
Yeah, that made me laugh.
It's a good bit. Good for them.
They're probably vaping too, like last week's banger.
Probably. When you guys were kids, did you ever go, well, probably not you, but did you ever go to a grocery store and they would just have a landline phone with a cord hanging on pillars in the middle of it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes, that still existed in my life.
All right. I thought
Also.
maybe they had cell phones by then. Yeah,
At the time I was born.
Maybe.
Do you know when I was born?
I do not.
Sometime in the 2000s.
That's not even correct.
I know. It's oh, wow. 99?
98,
So
actually.
And then one other science banger, a Centralia man was cited for indecent exposure for exposing himself to another person while urinating in E Street Wednesday morning. Additional possession of a controlled substance charges were referred to a local prosecutor's office. I mean, how else are you going to pee in public?
I remembered the thing I was going to say. If you want to learn more about public records, the Seattle Times has really good reporting on that issue specifically. So there's not really a need for us to do it because it's not local. There you go. That's what I was going to say. I remember now.
There's another indecent exposure in today's sirens, which I'm assuming
epidemic.
you didn't get to. And this person defecated on a church.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Allegedly.
Wasn't me this time.
On,
On this porch
okay.
property.
Yeah, that's on. That's on.
Yeah.
People's Champion of the Week. We've got a few. None of them are linked to actual stories. We've got Centralia High School's esports team. They won a state championship. Good
Which
for
is
them.
awesome.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Me too.
Commenters are very salty about it.
Yeah. You know what? Whatever.
Yeah, just go
They
down.
won Super Smash Bros, if anybody's wondering.
And then a bunch of
Brothers.
local kids did FFA stuff. Brooklyn Luce from Adna, I believe, was on there. And then Nathan Hay from Tenino.
There's
Both
a
got like
Chehalis-
state appointments.
Skyly Voy, I believe, was the name.
Skyly Voy, I think, was
Chehalis.
another
They didn't
one.
say WF West. And then there was a Rochester gal as well, I believe. We'll
And
have a
then
roundup in Thursday.
My personal hero was, you recommended this, Trash Can Guy McFilers. I took...
I was joking.
Who says romance is dead? I took Ty to dinner at McFiler's Saturday night after a long day of doing some construction work. We were sitting there eating dinner, and there was 2 young ladies in nursing scrubs that came in, sat down at a table, and a drunk guy walked up to them, started a conversation, and demanded the bartender bring them each a trash can. One of them accepted, but you know what? Good for that guy. Just out there living his life.
I always get excited when I see a trash can being
So
made
do
at
I.
a local bar, and then I always track it to wherever it goes. And you try to guess like where it's going to
Because
go.
you know somebody's either going to have a really good night or a really bad night.
Have you had a trash can before, Isabel?
I don't know what this is.
Oh, God.
It's a
just
toxic
like-
stew of like 4 different kinds of booze, and
It's
then
blue, and then they dump a Red Bull in it and leave the can in there.
Ah,
yeah, it's potent.
sounds
Yeah.
like a crazy time.
It's a young man's game.
Yeah.
It's definitely not something for us. But now the winner of People's Champion of the Week, Randall Tirepile, a very successful recycle
Oh, yeah.
day.
They brought it back. Whoa.
Did you try to hear the sound effect there? Oh, I don't have the headphones on. That's
Yeah.
why. what was it?
It was the
Can
air
you make
horns.
the sound for me?
Wah, wah, wah.
Thank you. 3 full 40-yard dumpsters were topped off with over 1,000 tires, all by volunteers. Isabel wrote this up, probably her most important thing she wrote up today, I would say, in the
Absolutely.
grand scheme of things. And there's your People's Champion of the Week.
Gina Owen and husband organized this in coordination with Lewis County Solid Waste, Department of Ecology, the Pinchot Partners, and the Gifford Pinchot Trash Force. So
this
the
was-
champions are the organizers rather than the tires themselves, I think.
It's a tire pile itself.
Okay.
And so this was in Randall.
Yes.
Correct.
We can call it Randy Tire Pile for short then, right?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Everybody, yeah. Just like on Alaska's Ani, we always call Randall Randy.
Right, you
Well,
know,
only in
Randy.
this one
Save
instance.
that one letter at the end.
Randy Tire Pile. What happens on the corner out here late on a Saturday night?
In all seriousness, outsider infatuation, I did really like the esports team at Centralia. I thought
So
that was
did I.
cool. State
I do
champs.
too. I mean, that's as real world a skill nowadays as like debate. You
We
know what
need
I mean?
to
Like,
send
it's-
Alec and Josh to cover the competition and then talk about it for 45 minutes of emotional debate.
That was a singular situation.
I've never seen them so excited about something.
Facebook comments of the week. One of the salty comments on Centralia's esports team winning a state championship. This guy says, they even have a coach, ? To play video games, ? Woohoo, participation trophies for everyone, haha. Sir, there are definitely not for everyone. They won a state championship. That's the opposite of what you're implying. Y'all wonder why the levy didn't pass. Maybe the community is tired of funding BS like this and plenty of other unnecessary programs.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure there's so many taxpayer dollars that are going into the esports program, right? Because, you know, I'm
Yeah.
sure the school pays for all of the time for the coach and for the kids and all of the gaming consoles and everything. It's definitely not a fun extracurricular activity that kids organize. Not
Let
that.
the kids do a thing. Who gives a shit?
You can get a
Jesus.
scholarship at Centralia College and other institutions for this
Yeah.
very thing.
It is an actual career where you can make a lot of money.
Also, this guy criticizing students when he has the wrong spelling of trophies, just like
Yeah, you and your typos. You really like to
you know
shove
what?
your understanding of the English language in everybody's face.
90% of Cronline comments are just like illiterate man has an opinion, must get it out there immediately.
That doesn't reflect the views of the Chronicle administration.
Doesn't necessarily.
Doesn't
reflect
necessarily.
Next, I love this one. On a photo of what the Chronicle calls a squirrel at Mount St. Helens in 2019, this commenter just says chipmunk.
Well, you know, I changed it from chipmunk because the guy up at the St. Helens Institute posted the link of it being a ground squirrel. And so I changed it to squirrel, and then somebody else was like, no, it's chipmunk.
Well, you know what? I don't like this guy's take of seeing somebody call an animal one thing and then immediately disagreeing.
This follows my loose rule that I break all the time, mostly with Isabel, because she likes birds and knows them well. Just don't try to identify any animals, ever. Just don't.
Just call it an animal.
Yeah, don't even call it like a squirrel. It's just like this apparent
Varmint.
mammal.
Yeah.
Because we're almost always wrong.
And some comment is going to be
Not
like, pretty
almost
sure that
always.
came out of an egg.
No, I've been wrong before. Like the time I called a Eurasian collared dove a mourning dove, and Dave Fenn noticed.
Oh, yeah. He also noticed the Canada geese versus...
Cackling geese.
Yes, cackling.
Yep. Yeah, just call it a bird.
Dave Finn, man. He'll always tell you when
he's
you're
our best-
off the trail.
Best and worst critic. But honestly, the fact that people pay attention, that keeps me going.
Mm-hmm. No, I like Dave.
Comment on Marie Glueson-Comp-Perez's broadband bill. This commenter says, damn, the comical seems to be her private advertising agency, which sure that's just called the news.
Oh, I've got a companion comment to go with that. Just let's see here. I got an email this morning from one of our great fans who's always just trashing us for the most random of reasons. L.L. Hauer in Winlock in a letter to the editor. Why was the story about Marisa Glueson-Perez's sponsorship of the bipartisan rural broadband bill buried beyond the read more button where virtually no one will see it? It's difficult to understand how stories about a new chef at the Shayless Theater or a photo of a dumpster fire takes precedence over a story of real importance to the lives and economic prosperity. The journalistic priorities of the Chronicle continue to leave me confused and concerned for our community. And I just want to note, there were 2 additional Glueson-Perez stories still on the homepage. So in her view, we needed all 3 of them on the homepage at the exact moment she decided to visit the website, or else she has great concern for our community.
Maybe she has dial-up and really wants that broadband.
I don't even know why I'm saying she. I don't even know if this is a man or a woman. So
Let's see. We've got a number of comments on the Morton Police Chief Roger Morningstar suspension. I'm just going to delete most of these and read half of one.
Oh boy.
Which just says money or sex ? Which is it ? Or leave the rest of it out. But you know what? I kind of like that take on it.
I think you could probably apply that to any investigation.
Most.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
What's in the next edition?
Oh, it's a good, solid Tuesday paper. I'm not going to lie. Isabel did a nice story, headline, What's with the Logging by Yardbirds? Owner plans development over decades. And the owner is John Braun. Mm-hmm. And he's talking about building something like 2,500 homes over time and a retail, how did you word that? A retail center on the hill facing...
A terrorist retail zone, I think I call it.
A terrorist retail zone?
That's right.
Terroraced, I believe.
You might want to rethink
Terrorist.
that one.
We had a twist in a local crime story. The Toledo murder, one of the suspects, both of them are teenagers, pleaded guilty to charges other than murder in a sign that, perhaps she's going to be testifying against the other person arrested. You can read all about that at cronline.com. But she just pleaded not guilty, I believe, Friday or Thursday. And then there was a hearing this morning where she pleaded guilty to several charges. We've got distinguished alumna over at Centralia College. It's going to be Judith Greeley Hendrickson. You can read about her in the paper. Owen did a nice job down at the Lions Club Fishing Derby in Toledo. I think it's the first time we've got the names of all the winners in there and everything. He did a really good job. And then maybe the 3 of us can consider this. There's a 3-on-3 street ball festival in August. I don't know how you guys are. You guys ball?
Where's that taking place?
It's in Shayless.
Sports
All right.
Dump versus News Dump?
Sports Dump would mop you guys.
I don't know about that. You're going to be on our team, though.
I would not. I'm playing with the boys.
So we're not.
you?
Eric, you're not the boys.
You're making a big mistake, man.
The John Braun terrorist farm or whatever he's starting. Did you hear he's got a website that goes with that? It's the John Braun log blog.
John Braun log blog.
I did have the bump words John Braun's logs.
I kept seeing that. I've been waiting for weeks to find out what John Braun's doing with them logs.
It was really interesting. Like that whole place is actually made of sand. I always thought it was clay. I think everybody's always called it that. It's like a very cool vision that they have for the whole thing. So,
Well,
You know,
like they
the
say-
Bible says something.
I was going to say, we always like to consult the Bible in these situations, and it definitely recommends building your home on sand.
no, but
Very explicit about whether or not
the
you build on
homes
sand.
the homes are not going to be built on sand. The homes are on
I
the
said, yeah,
the very opposite side of the area. The road will be put over what's currently a sand mine after they like excavate the sand until they like get to the topsoil. I should have made that maybe more clear in the story, but whatever.
No, I'm just happy to have a story in there on what's happening there. It's quite visible to the entire coverage area.
I thought about doing the lead.
From the freeway.
I thought about doing the lead like this, but I didn't like. I thought maybe it's too esoteric. But Society of Professional Journalists recommends against pandering to lurid curiosity, but sometimes you just gotta have earnest curiosity, and you gotta answer those questions, such as what's going on with the logging by yardbirds, and that's the whole story.
It's important.
Maybe they're just gonna move yardbirds up on the side of the hill. Anyway, in closing, we're sponsored by Summit Funding and the Roof Doctor.
It's so hot.
Leave a review on Apple Podcasts if you want. We haven't had one in a while. Not that I am counting. Goodbye.